It is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Sundaram Padmanabhan, the esteemed director of Nutty Treats and Foods Private Limited.
3 minutes to talk about some thoughts on how we can probably develop and put together some strategy on how we can look at trade. As the Indian economy grows, obviously we all have heard a common theme which emanates from each one of us is that there is huge opportunity. Opportunity, absolutely. There's no denying the fact that there are opportunities. And if I have to probably look at three aspects, probably I'll look at which are the locations and the geography that I need to target, number one. And second, which is a sector I should consider. And probably third, and I'm not talking as an entrepreneur, I'm also looking at it as somebody who has been following this sector since I've come back to India. And as an ex-banker, what are the areas that we can look at? Because that is very, very important. We can't just go blind. So from a location standpoint, clearly, I'm sure you all are aware that India is very strategically and ideally located to serve the greater Indian Ocean region. And we have had some ancient trade and cultural relationships across all these markets in GIO. So maybe we should focus definitely at the Middle East and North Africa, Eastern and Southern Africa, and South and Southeast Asia. So the first obvious region where we should look at increasing our trade for all, as Mr. Bhaskar said, please come to me and help. Absolutely, we're going to come to you for help. We are looking at expanding ourselves to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, if possible, Sudan, South Africa, Singapore, Australia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Kenya, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, UAE, Iran, Egypt, Tanzania, Thailand, Indonesia. That's a huge market. So for any one of us who wants to even probably, as you said, $100 per person, if I'm able to clock $1 million, we all can go home happily counting cash. The secondary target, as I see, to increase our trade with East Asia and the Pacific Ocean, Japan, thank you so much for that invite, Taiwan, Korea, Philippines, and Vietnam, as well as some of the European and Western Africa. The sectors that we can probably look at is tech sector, production and assembly growth, which I think is growing leaps and bounds. So that's an opportunity there. There are large volumes which are coming through. There are opportunities in textiles and food items and food processing. And I'm not biased just because I come from that industry, but there is a huge opportunity for us because we have seen that particular sector growing quite significantly. We received a recent order from New Jersey, which was about 1.5 crores per month, and that's just a 20-feet container. And they said that you just supply to us and we will see how the quality is and accordingly we can place. So there are huge opportunities for us. And I'm saying these numbers with some degree of confidence and because one, good product, good quality that we can offer. But I also realize that Indian products are in huge demand right now. And obviously Indians are pretty much everywhere. There is a joke which I will keep it for later. There are some elements which are critical, which I think we should keep in mind as to, how do we build this future. Funding is something which is very dear to my heart because I used to find it relatively easier when I was outside India. I'm struggling between, what do you call PDs and documentations, and Padmaja ma'am knows about it. And too much of documentation. They ask pretty much everything that you have, so much so that you reach a point where you have nothing much to offer after that. Before we select which market and which client and which sector, there are a few areas which I would like you to remember. Market research, very critical. Somebody did allude to the fact that it's very important that we understand which market we are going and why we are going. Sometimes the numbers could be very attractive, but you're not really sure whether the market actually is for you. You need to identify, whether the target and the demand is appropriate, whether the market itself has the growth potential, because you do not want that to be a one-off deal that you want to do. You also need to, you mentioned about tailoring of products. It's very important for us to offer the client what the client needs and not necessarily what you have. Most of us, sometimes when we do go for shopping, you actually want to buy a pair of socks and you end up buying, a pair of shoes where the socks is not really there. Very critical aspect, the next one is the legal and regulatory compliance, because compliance space has increased so much over the years, and probably somebody from Levant can actually elaborate a lot more. And it's important that, we under assess or underestimate the importance of compliance. So very critical that we look at each and every aspect. You must have a team which understands, what could be the implication if you send something, and if there are certain things which do not fall into the overall parameters defined by the country and its regulation. Uh, Build strategic alliances. I think this is a great platform for us to meet and interact with people and try and see that, how we can collaborate and work together. One can get into partnership or alliances with local businesses, industry associations, or government bodies, and I'm sure this get together or gathering gives us that opportunity to try and see that how we can forge that relationship. Digital space has grown again leaps and bounds, especially in the last 10 years. Uh, Very difficult to relate to the fact that life can pretty much run on a mobile. 20 years back, I still possess the Nokia Hammer mobile, which I bought it in '94, which could injure people. But now the mobile has become pretty much everything that one can think of. So digital, one needs to leverage the digital platform that's available for marketing and sales. Logistics and supply chain management. We had a session on supply chain. I think that's another critical part. Financial management. Pretty much all businesses, whether they succeed or otherwise, depends on how well you manage your funds. So that's an aspect which one needs to be very mindful of. You need to manage currency fluctuation. What looks very attractive today could be very different, by the time the goods are delivered. So one need to make sure that you look at the payment methods, look at the financial risk that are associated. And the last point, I had three more points, but I am forced to say last point. You and this is a topic which is very close to my heart, which is cultural sensitivity. It's very important for you to understand the culture which you're dealing with. If you're able to address all these points, I see no reason, why Nutty Treats can't be a 100 crore business, and probably work with Santosh to share 5 crores with you.